no class, everything normal, please. I hope you did your work. I hope everyone is prepared. Today we're going to do what? The review of the book fee. Well, not exactly. This review is more like a reflection on part what? On part 1. And of course, we're not going to need the book physically or online. Right? Reminders, please follow the deadlines. There are many deadlines. For this week, you have to read what?
Part 2
and part 3. Girls, please. Which I think goes from page 81 to 170. It's about 90 pages, more or less. And you have to, by Sunday midnight, like I always say, send me an interesting post. Girls, up to now, fantastic post. Fantastic post. And I've been able to answer everybody. Have you seen my answers? I apologize. My answers are not long. Sometimes I repeat myself, but usually what I do is I correct your grammar, your spelling, all the grammar mistakes. We're making fewer grammar mistakes. That is good, right? But usually I just congratulate you with your post. And I tell you to share with the classroom. They're all worthy of sharing, but we cannot share so many. So the first of all, I want to ask you, and 2-3 volunteers maybe, how did it go with your interaction with part 1 in the book reading? So raise your hands and talk to me. Talk to the group. 2-3 comments very quickly. How they make you feel, what did you like, what didn't you like? 1, 2.
Well, as you were saying on pause, I just love that the narrator is there. So I'm really enjoying this book. It's amazing.
It hasn't disappointed you yet?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm loving it so much.
Okay.
Because I already watched the movie, but I don't judge.
Did that damage the pleasure of reading the book?
It's
always better to read the book first. Sure. But it's still an interesting experience.
I'm loving it.
Okay, it's exciting.
I also am enjoying a lot this book. I love the fact that it's a middle of the page are little facts about the characters and
That is clever.
Yes.
And that makes it easier.
Yes. And I also like how the writer, how the author writes. And personally, I love her father.
Why do you love him so much?
So amazing.
Because he's so nice and he is an amazing father and an amazing person. He is the one who encourages
Liza
to learn to read and to write.
Sure. You saw the movie, right? Does that affect your view of the father? Is it, of course, in the movie, wow, you fall in love with the character?
Yes.
But just by reading the book, it's enough to fall in love with the character?
Yes.
Or even more?
Even more, I think.
Even more. Interesting. Finally, the book lover and mathematician lover.
That's why I was going to say the same as Anita, that I loved, what I loved the most about this book are the father's character and Rudy's character. I like them like a lot and how they got to inspire Lysol and how they interact with everything, and I just love what they do and what they feel.
Excellent. So it was a good decision doing this change because I think we're enjoying it a little more. Vocabulary. I hope you're keeping track of the words on Mr. E's. There are many ways of doing this. First, as you read, write down some words, then check Mr. E's. There are different sections, remember? Have you entered that link? It's a very interesting link. And they have practice reviews. And they have the word in context with sentences. So it's worth it. And I prepared a vocabulary workshop, which I don't know if we have time today, but if not, we'll do it tomorrow, related to one of the chapters that personally I liked the most, which was called The Kiss. You know the chapter The Kiss, and which we're going to reread today and share a little about that. Anyone else? I want to read one of the posts that I received by Sunday midnight. Congratulations to all of you. But this one kind of really caught my attention by Camila Calderon's post. Really was 2 posts put together. And this shows me profoundness. I'm enjoying your post. And the more profound one, usually the better. May I? Please, no problem. It says, taking into account my newborn relationship with this book, The way you write is interesting, no? I have the courage to say various aspects that may encourage or discourage you to read part 1 of the book Thief, written by Marcus Zusak. First, I'm surprised how easily it is to read this novel. It has simple vocabulary, the events are developed in a fast manner, and the story is easy to follow. I guess we all agree with that?
Yes.
Second, the way the narrator tells you the story is not very common. Hence, I got pretty into reading what he had to say, pretty into it, especially everything concerning the color palette. However, my third report may not be as nice as the previous one. In my personal opinion, after reading part 1, I still haven't reached any real story that may be worth telling. Maybe the real plot is going to be stated later, but until now I don't understand what the book is really about. Besides, I'm used to knowing what to expect from a story after its first 80 pages. Therefore, perhaps it is just a matter of custom. Before I move on, that is a valid point of view. Some people mentioned that in their posts. I remember Lina Maria Gomez, a few other people said, I like it. Interesting to reflect on life and personal issues. But hey, where's the action? Something has to happen. Maybe it's going to happen in part 2 and 3. That is a valid way of seeing things. Then she says, Ms. Calderon, in spite of my last point, I read 4 sentences throughout this first part that really caught my attention. Since I really appreciated and valued them, I'm going to share them with you. Number 1, and taken from the book. This is a really good post. It really shows me that you interacted with part 1. She did not produce it easily. But when it came, she had a starving smile. A starving smile. For me, this sentence represents unfulfilled happiness. A hidden smile that even shown is not complete. Very interesting. Number 2, Rosa Huberman had a face decorated with constant fury. This sentence made a strong impression on me because all my life I've been surrounded by women with strong and maybe harsh attitudes. After reading it, many faces came to my mind, showing me that the fury they constantly express must be considered as a quality that enhances their beauty. What say you about that? Do you know people that are like Rosa? Very harsh and always like using bad language, or it seems like they hate you, but really, they love you. What do you feel about that before I move on? 1 or 2 volunteers, or do you know somebody like, or say Adreita?
No.
Jenny?
Yes.
The teacher, Jenny. That's Rosa. Yeah. Why would you say similar? Why?
When we were like in 8th and 9th grade, that we had her like a teacher, she was like very hard with us and like sometimes made some comments that were like really
Yes.
But at the end we know that she loved us and it was like a
She
very
did it.
nice person.
It's a way of educating.
Yes.
It just came to my mind thanks to you. That's Rosa Huberman. Fantastic. Jenny, perfect example. Huh? And finally, she echoed, quickly adopting the appropriate cruelty that childhood seems to require. Recently, I have seen how hard our younger girls are between themselves and how quickly their cruelty is spread. It even seems as if it was a necessary implement for their survival. Because of this, I deeply understood this information. And number 4, somewhere far down there was an itch in his heart, but he made it a point not to scratch it. He was afraid of what might come leaking out. I can really relate to this sentence, since I've always been afraid of my own suffering and pain. I do recognize an itch in my heart, and for a long while I have not been able to even look at it. But lately, I've been trying to embrace what leaks out from my wounds, because it is better to clean them away than letting them rot until there's nothing left to save them. I hope you chose your favorite sentences as well, and I look forward to sharing opinions with each one of you. Maybe you will help me know what to expect from the next part of this rare but inspiring book. Give her a... Seriously, as a teacher, you read these kind of things, it's worth doing these kind of activities. So any feedback or something that caught your attention related to that? Or simply let's move on to the next part. You move on? Well done. I wish we could talk about so many other things. Time is always a little limited, but thank you very much. Next activity really now is a little mini class debate. Mini class debate. Very short, unfortunately. We have so many things to do, and we do have to move on. I'm going to ask you the following question. Are human beings naturally good or bad? Are we born evil? Can a baby be evil? Or the surroundings make us evil? Hitler was born evil, or he became evil? And listen from a quote on page 63 from the book, really, if you want to check it out. Page 63 of the novel says, some crunch numbers. I like you said, I like the way the author gives us some facts and teaches us about the context. And he says, since 1933, 90% of Germans, attention, showed unflinching support for Adolf Hitler. What does unflinching mean?
Unquestionable.
No doubt at all, exactly. You see, in context you get the words. That leaves 10% who didn't. Hans Huberman belonged to the 10%, and there was a reason for that. Do you remember? I remember Natha told me about the kiss, and you inspired me precisely about the chapter. Remember you mentioned that chapter? And that's why I picked it, by the way. I do listen to you once in a while. No? Okay, no, most of the times. It says here, then another quote I found from a book called The Magus by John Fowles. It says, very controversial, the human race is unimportant. It is the self that must not be betrayed. I suppose one can say that Hitler didn't betray his self. He was honest. He was evil and he was honest to his self. Again, but millions of Germans did betray their selves, and that was the tragedy. Not that one man had the courage to be evil, but that millions had not the courage to be good. Because 90% followed Hitler. No. What do you think of these quotes? What do you think of that? And in general, are people born good or bad? Discuss first in your pairs. Very quickly with your neighbors. 2 minutes. Discussion and then as a whole. 2-minute discussion. One more minute.
We just pay for our own necessities.
Because of time, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We could continue talking about this the whole class. Do I have 2-3 volunteers now to share and debate and hopefully create controversy? Say again? Give me 1 second. Sorry. Yes.
Well, for the first question, the one that if we born evil or not,
If we are born.
evil or not, we think that of course not. That it's something that the environment and like the society like creates you,
Sure.
and it's like for
We
the
don't have that gene that
No.
says we're evil.
No, I think that no, and it's like most of the time for being like better than others, the power, the money, and that
Okay.
we the ones that create that.
Interesting.
And we also from the last book that you said
Attention,
that
please.
they didn't have that, like the 90% that followed Hitler didn't have like the courage.
Didn't have.
They didn't have the courage. We think that part of that 90% is like they didn't have the courage. They didn't have the courage to like
Follow what, their heart and principles?
No.
Or they were
Like-
blind?
no, yes, no. Some and the other. What we think is that some part of the 90% like act like Hitler one because they are like scared and they are scared of do what they want. But some of other part can also be because they act according to what they think and they think like similar to Hitler. So
Okay, we could be careful to think
Yes,
similar.
but some
90%
people-
of the people, that would be difficult to believe.
no, we say that
Ah,
one
some
part
people.
and yes.
Part. Thanks to the power of words, of course, and the brainwashing.
Yes.
Okay, well done. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
So, as for being born, either good or bad for who?
Good
For
point.
the others, for yourself, like the second quote which Oba said. He was being good to himself, not being evil to himself. To us, yes, he's evil, but that's us. The first law.
So you kind of agree that he did not betray himself.
He did not betray himself because he was good with himself. It may be selfish, yeah, it was, but it was good for him. It was good. So
Controversial, but interesting.
I truly believe that at least he did what he could. So that's
Okay, interesting. Number 2.
I personally think that no one can do that much, like if he is not really convinced he is doing the right thing. Or I think he wasn't really like that what he was doing was going to do like something good for society. That's why he did it. And
He truly believed that. Of course, it was not good, but he truly believed that.
I think he had like a mental,
a psychological problem.
Sure, of course.
It's not normal to hate
No.
other. And I don't think people are born evil.
Listen
Bad
carefully.
experiences and things they need like mostly in their childhood and they like mark them for all their lives.
Good point. Number 3.
that
Listen to Valen, please.
that I don't believe that someone is born
Evil.
but I think it's something very controversial because I saw a documentary last week of happiness and it told that happiness is the 50% of our happiness are genes. And I believe that evil can also be like that. I don't know.
Inherited.
Yes, I think we decide to be evil or not, but in some way I think it will be related with genes.
Sure.
I don't know. So, well, I mostly believe that it will be like moments and experiences you live, but I think it will be related to some part
Probably it
with
is.
genes
At least we have a predisposition towards being evil. Some people more than
than the
others.
others. But you need to decide if you want to be evil or not.
And finally, final comment, then we move on to the next activity. Hey, a little more attention, please.
I agree with everyone. I agree with Laura too. That, like, bad for who? And because Hitler thought he was right.
For 6 million Jewish.
The problem is not in Hitler, but in society who thought that he was right. Because
That's the
society-
scary part.
Yeah, so like he thought he was right and good for him, but the other ones who were really in the, like sane, they're supposedly were sane. They should have said like, no, what you're doing and what you're thinking.
Yeah, we're not going to follow you.
Crazy. Exactly. So.
The power of words, and brainwashing, persuasion, and propaganda. Definitely. Okay, let's move on to the next activity. Attention, notebooks, quickly. 3-minute free writing exercise on the following. Energy girls. We need to practice our writing skills too. And then we're going to share in pairs while we write. Or trios, if necessary. Okay, you ready? I'm going to time you. 3 minutes free writing. Remember, in free writing exercises, we don't stop. We try not to make so many grammar mistakes, but that's not the focus. The focus is to let it flow. Exactly. 3 minutes. I'm going to time you. Here is the question. You don't have to write the question. All you have to do is listen. Okay. the personality portrayed by Death in the novel is ironic. We often see Death as a scary character, perhaps an unreliable narrator. But in this novel, The Book Thief, Death is simply someone who is doing the job appointed to him. He is not someone to fear, and he is certainly reliable in the narration of the story. In the context of The Book Thief, does Death like its job? Why or why not? And how do you think Death in The Book Thief feels about human existence according to what you've read up to now, part 1? I'm going to repeat the question. It's very subjective. Here goes again. Does Death like its job in the context of The Book Thief? Why or why not? And how do you think Death feels about human existence? You have 3 minutes starting now. Goodbye. You still have 1 minute more. Let it flow.
You said that human existence.
What do you think Death in the context of things of human existence? Does he like your job? Is he that mean? You know, it's kind of like his idea of Liza. Kind of like obsessed with Liza,
Yeah.
right? Kind of like rooting for her. "15 seconds. Okay, stop. Please get into pairs, hopefully pairs, in case 3 people. Share quickly, just read what you wrote out loud. And then we'll pick two volunteers to share to the class. And then we move on.
I
Second, I haven't forgotten. It's good. Okay, stop, please stop. Did you have the chance to share? Yes. 1 or 2 volunteers for the class who feels proud. Who feels proud? Natika, well, yes. Let's listen to now. Natika, speak up loud. Sorry for interrupting you, by the way, it's interesting, many of us have, and I had it too many years ago, this fear sometimes of speaking in public. We all have that kind of fear. And some people have the fear, like the book thief, like Lizel, to read in public. Remember, she didn't know how to read. And little by little, she was very afraid of doing that. And it's interesting to overcome our fears. Gabriela Diaz, in a beautiful post, if you check out Mysteries, she shares that fear. And I asked permission to share this information, of course, but I'm very careful. She said, yeah, she's a very good speaker when it comes to speaking, but she's terrified, like many maybe, when reading out loud in front of people or in a class. So the challenge is to overcome that fear and try to participate as much as you can. It's not easy. It's an art sometimes. Go for it, Natika.
That is not nice. However, it is gentle.
Louder, please.
In this novel, it is as another person. Kind of scary, but that's the way it is. I think he's bored of his job and wants vacation.
Who wants vacation?
But as you may know, death never rests. And that is the reason why I feel sometimes he wants to be seen, heard, and kind of noticed. Finally, I think he encountered his personal Pandora box with life.
Excellent. Well done. Very good. For Daniela, repeat the last part, Nata.
I think he encountered his personal Pandora box with life.
Well said. Thank you. Another volunteer. Quickly, do I have one more volunteer? No one else feels proud?
I want to say something, but
Okay.
I don't want to read.
Okay, Juli, and then Juliman. Juli Silva.
I think that death doesn't decide who dies, like how they die and when they die.
Then who decides that?
I don't know, but I think that his job is just take the soul of the people and that's it.
So it's just a job appointed to him and
Not decide how and who.
no
but-
bad feelings. He's innocent.
Yes.
Interesting. No? Juliman, and then if someone wants to say something else, go for it. Juliman.
I think death is just doing the inevitable. It can't escape from what it's meant to be for it, and neither can we. In other words, the purpose of each person's life can be chosen by oneself. However, what's completely not questionable is the beginning and end of it. All we know is that if we're born, we're going to die. There's nothing more certain than death in life. Therefore, as death is part of the one and only truth of life, it's its job, like it or not, to make it happen. In the book, death is busier than ever, and even though he complains about it, he doesn't say he doesn't enjoy doing it.
Excellent, Dani. Excellent. Well done. I'm sure many of you have interesting things. So why don't you, optional, send it through?
Well,
Opposed to? Mystery. Let's communicate as much as we can. It's a good way of practicing. Well done. Okay, let's go to the kiss. Page, well really, the chapter of the kiss starts at page 46, where it says the kiss, a child of decision maker. I want you to find the page 48 in my book, though it could be a little different. Page 48, yeah, 46 it starts. But I want you to find where it says some facts about Rudy Steiner. Some facts about the lover boy, Rudy Steiner. He's a prince. Okay. So, now attention. Please overcome your fears. I need 11 volunteers. To read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, very good. 11. So, and I'm going to interrupt you once in a while. When we do this until class over, we still have 15 minutes. We're doing quite well. Okay. Some facts, my recommendation, although you probably didn't. Vocabulary notebooks, interesting words. It's easy to get most of them from context. And then I prepared a vocabulary workshop from the chapter The Kiss. Outside of all the things you have on mysteries related to vocabulary, we're not going to finish today. We'll do it in class. No more homework. No more homework. We'll do it in class. But it's an interesting, I found 20 words at least. Attention please. I found 20 words that should be new for you. Let's see what happens. Okay, number 1.
In
Some facts.
some facts about Jim Steiner.
Steiner, good German, very good. Montoya corrected me. She knows German. Lysol.
And had bony legs, sharp teeth, gangly blue eyes,
New word, gave you to us.
hair the color of lemon. One of 6 Steiner children. He was permanently hungry. One
On Himmel Street,
he was considered a little crazy. This was an account of an event that was rarely spoken about, but widely regarded as the Jesse Owens incident,
cute incident.
in which he painted himself charcoal black and ran the 100 meters at the local playing field at night.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you before you continue. I want you to continue. There's a new word that you should know as part of the vocabulary there. Gangly, what does it mean? Raquel. Gangly. Gangly. Our Chicago girl can learn the words too. And I too. I learned too. We all learn. No? What do you think gangly is? Yeah, shiny, but in this case, awkward. It can mean many things. Gangly can mean lanky, related to tall, thin, weedy, but also awkward or strange in movement. Awkward or strange in movement. So that means, haven't you seen those blue eyes that are not exactly the most attractive eyes, but like, I don't know, like strange, like wide, like shiny, like sparkling, like, but awkward, strange. I don't know if you noticed something as you read this. The thing is, you girls are in love with Rudy, maybe, I hope, because of the book. But maybe some of you are in love. You know why? Because of the movie. Because Rudy's a very handsome boy. But the description in the book, they kind of like make him look a little like lanky, weedy, bony. Maybe not that attractive like in the movie. I don't know. Keep on reading. No, sorry. And the other question. They mentioned Jesse Owens, which later on in another chapter is explained. What do you know about Jesse Owens?
He won.
So he was
Volunteers?
He was the fastest runner, and what Rudy made was that he didn't understand why they excluded black people. So
yeah, it was practically forbidden. Hitler didn't want the black people from the United States team to run.
So Jesse Owens was like his idol, and so he went and painted his face with blood.
Exactly. And the father got very pissed off. Of course, could be dangerous because it seemed wrong, but the father got really mad. And poor Rudy innocently did not understand what was bad of being black, what was bad of being Jewish. He didn't get it. Now, Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals in the Olympics of 1936 in Berlin, right in front of Hitler.
And there in the book said that Hitler didn't want it to shake hands.
Exactly. So I invite you, Julie and everyone, to check 2 new videos that I posted on Mysteries. Write this down so you don't forget. It's not homework, just do it for the pleasure. On Mysteries, every week I'm adding material related to what you read. So there's one video of 3 minutes showing you what Jesse Owens did. And then there's another video, check it out, that is important for part 2 and part 3 of the book. 2 new videos. It's not that you have to post anything related to that. If you want, you may, but check those 2 videos. Deal? Continue.
Insane or not, Rudy was always
Destined
to be Lysol's best friend. As noble in the face, surely the perfect beginning to a lasting friendship. A few days after Lysol started school, she went along with the Steiners. Rudy's mother, Barbara, made him promise to walk with the new girl, mainly because she heard about the noble. To Rudy's credit, he was happy enough to comply. He was not the junior misogynist type of
Mis-
boyable,
Misogynistic.
misogynistic. He liked girls a lot, and he liked Lysol, hence the snowball.
And sorry for interrupting you. What is that word?
Health and
Misogynistic.
That hates women.
Hatred towards women. Hatred towards women. Continue.
In fact, Rudy Spider was one of the most audacious little bastards who actually fancied himself with ladies.
Who fancied himself. Interesting word. Fancy is not elegant in this case. It's like a verb. To imagine.
Like
To fancy, to dream of. Continue.
Every childhood seems to have exactly such a
Juvenile.
in its minds.
In its miss and miss.
He's the boy who refuses to fear the opposite sex, purely because everyone else embraces that particular field.
At that
Then
age.
he's the side who is unafraid to make a decision. In this case, Rudy had already made up his mind about Lysol memory.
And what was his decision? To what? To love her, definitely, I guess, no? Talking about Rudy, and you know a boy like Rudy in your life, in your personal life, or maybe a few years ago, you know, the typical flirt, the typical boy, self-confident, that feels that whatever he says, all the girls are dying for him. And believe it or not, sometimes you fall for it. Or maybe most of the times you fall for it. Do you know any Rudies in your personal life? Volunteers. Daniela is going to say something. I saw her. You know? No one knows a Rudy? Vale. Vale's going to say something about Rudy.
Now I'm saying the 90% of the boys are pretty.
No? Question. Do you like people like Rudy? That show that self-confidence, that are flirts, that are always like, do you fall for that Vale? So Ochoa, tell us about Rudy. Vale. Okay, but let's listen,
So I think that towards that kind of people, you either like him or hate them. And if you hate them, you start loving them also.
In conclusion, we are doomed. You end up loving the guy.
Yes.
You end up loving the guy. True, Andrea?
No, I think that it's important that they have like self-confidence.
It's good, so
Yes.
not
But
arrogance.
no, like, yes.
Not arrogance. Okay, Rudy. Anyway, he's a lover boy. Let's continue with Valentin number 2. Valentin number 2.
On the way to school, he tried to point out certain landmarks in the town, or at least he managed to slip it all in, somewhere between telling his younger siblings to shut their faces and the older ones telling him to shut his. His first point of interest was a small window on the second floor of an apartment block. That's where Tommy Wheeler lives. He realized that Lysol didn't remember him. The Twitcher, when he was 5 years old, he got lost at the markets on the coldest day of the year. 3 hours later, when they found him, he was frozen solid and had an awful earache from the cold. After a while, his ears were all infected inside, and he had 3 or 4 operations, and the doctors wrecked his nerves. So
Now
now
he twitches. Twitches.
Lysol
Chimed in. Good word. It's part of the vocabulary you should know.
Lysol chimed in, and he's bad at soccer, the worst. Next was the corner shop at the end of Himmel Street.
Frau Dillers. Thank you. Number 3.
An important note about Frau Diller. She had one golden rule. Frau Diller was a sharp-edged
Good word. Sharp-edged woman.
woman with fat glasses and a nefarious glare.
Sorry for interrupting you. And a nefarious. You need to know that word. What is it? What is nefarious?
Like gloomy.
Huh?
Like gloomy.
Gloomy, evil. And they define it there. Continue, Vale.
She developed this
Evil. Nefarious.
to discourage the very idea of stealing from her shop, which she occupied with soldier-like posture, a refrigerated voice, and even bread that smelled like
Hi, Hitler.
The shop itself was white and cold, and completely bloodless.
Bloodless.
The small house compressed beside it shivered with a little more
Severity.
than the other buildings on Hill Street. Frau Diller administrated this feeling, dishing it out as the only free item from her.
Premises.
She lived for her shop, and her shop lived for the Third Reich.
Reich.
Right. Even When rationing started later in the year, she was known to sell certain hard-to-get items under the counter and donated the money to the Nazi Party.
She was a fanatic of the Nazi Party, as you can see.
On the wall behind the usual sitting position was a framed photo of the
The Führer, Hitler.
If you walked into her shop and didn't say Heil Hitler,
Hi, hello, Hitler.
you wouldn't be
You wouldn't be served. Continue.
As they walked by, Rudy drew
License.
attention to the bulletproof eyes leering from the shop.
What is leering?
Like,
Exactly like spying on you. And I like the way he describes the eyes, no? What word does he use? Bulletproof eyes. Very interesting. Number 4. Valentina, number 4.
Tails, when you go in here,
In there,
you won't hurt
stiffly.
unless you want to walk a little farther. Even when they were well past the shop,
Liza.
Liza looked back, and the
Magnified eyes.
magnified eyes were still there, fastened to the window. Around the corner, Munich Street, the main road in and out of the
Malkin.
Malkin,
The town.
was strewn with
Good word. Was strewn, scattered with slush, like melted snow. Continue.
As was often the case, a few rows of troops in training came marching past. Their uniforms walked upright and their black boots further
Polluted.
the snow. Their faces were fixed ahead in concentration.
Continue.
Once they had watched the soldiers disappear, the group of Steiners and the
Lysol.
walked past some shop windows and the imposing town hall, which in later years would be chopped off and
At the knees.
and burned. A few of the shops were abandoned and still labeled with yellow stars.
The discrimination coming out. The yellow stars. And
and
Jewish.
Jewish slurs.
Learn that word, please. Slurs. Very important word for this. Slurs.
Farther down, the church aimed itself and the sky rooftop, a study of collaborative tiles. The street overall was lengthy tube of grey, a corridor of dauntless people stood in the cold and splash sound and
Watery.
footsteps. At one stage, Buddhist
Louis rushed ahead.
dragging Lysol with him. He knocked on the window of the tailor's shop.
You know Taylor, what a tailor is, no?
yes.
And then finally, Valentina 5, and we won't have time for more, I apologize. The time is almost over, we have 2-3 minutes. Valentina number 5.
Had she been able to redesign,
She would have
noticed that it belonged to redesign.
Wait, by the way, I have to stop you there for what? Grammar. What do you see there?
Unconditional.
What kind of condition? No? Third condition, but be more specific. Do you see the if? The inverted third condition. Had she been able to read the sign, but she wasn't able to read the sign. You see, it's very common, the use of conditions. Continue and finish that part.
The shop was not yet open, but inside a man was preparing articles floating behind the counter. He looked up and waited. My butler read this
Informed her.
and they were soon among crowd with various sized seniors, each waiting for blood and kisses as their father was simply standing and taking a look. In the case of the oldest ones, then moving on toward the final landmark before school.
I'm going to ask you girls a favor, since I don't want to leave the activity incomplete, and I have a vocabulary workshop, will continue in class, if we have a class, next time, tomorrow, whenever, we continue. Deal? Deal. So, yeah, tomorrow I think we have TOEFL only. So, day 3, bring the books. God bless you girls. Bye-bye. Follow deadlines.